Alright guys, welcome back. We're doing USA today. We're doing part 2 of building Mom a Bluebird birdhouse. These are really handy to have in your yard. It takes a year or so sometimes for the bluebirds to find them, but once they do, they'll revisit them year after year. So we're going to do part 2. I want to show you what it takes to put together the 7 pieces of this birdhouse that we have just made. And if you'll use the right kind of materials, you'll have a long-lasting birdhouse. So let's get right with it. What you'll need today is you'll need, of course, a drill with a Phillips screwdriver head. I am also using a drill, and you'll use this for I went to Harbor Freight. I've got a hole saw set. You'll use 1.5 inch hole on your bluebird houses. Now, some people may send me a message and say that's not the right size, but I have used this for years, and all the ones that I've used, they continue to reproduce and have more and more bluebirds. So this is a good size that I have found to use. You'll also need some self-tapping screws. Now this is a number 6 screw. It's 1 1/4 It's 1 1/4 long, but it has a self-drilling point, which is really important that you want to use a self-drilling point so you don't split your wood when you're putting these birdhouses together. But what we're going to do is we're going to go right down here below us, and we are going to first thing we're going to do is we're going to take one of our ends, and we are going to cut the hole out for the birdhouse. That's the only time you'll need the hole saw, so we're going to do that first, eliminate that tool, and just keep moving forward. So let's do that. So what we've got here is we've got one of our ends to our birdhouse. What we're going to do is we're going to cut the hole out, and I'm using a hole saw kit that I got from Harbor Freight. You can pick these up really inexpensively, and they come in handy for many projects around the house. Now, all you do is you have your bit and your drill auger, and what you're going to do is you're going to place it in your bit. Then you're going to take your lock nut and you're going to lock it down on. Just finger tight's fine, because you're not going to use it but once. And what you're going to do with this is you're going to drill the hole for your birdhouse. And this doesn't have to be exact. We just sort of eyeball it and want it in the middle. But what we're going to do is we're going to put this in our drill. Get this set up in our drill. And I want to show you something I found that's easy to do. I put it on a block of wood, and the reason I do that is because when I drill through, I do not drill all the way through. My auger bit is my alignment bit, and what it does is it creates a hole and it goes all the way through. So then I just turn it over, put my bit in that hole, it lines up my cutting bit. Now, the reason I do that is because it gives me a little bit of an edge right here to where I can pull that plug of wood out of my bit. If you don't do that, you will end up having a plug of wood. You'll end up having a plug of wood stuck down in here, and you'll have to dig it out with a pair of pliers or a screwdriver or something. So what I do is I cut halfway through, turn it over, cut the other halfway through, and there is my opening to my birdhouse right there. So that's what it's going to look like. All right. So I can move my block out of the way. I've got my end. I've got my 2 sides. And I'm going to let you see how these will go together. My 2 sides. Remember, in part 1, we showed you the dimensions of all this. We're going to have our other end like this. Okay? We're going to have our bottom, which this all sits on, and we're going to have one top and the other top will overlap. So what we want to do first is we want to take and we want to put our sides on, and you can do this in any order you want, but what I'm doing is I'm going to use these self-tapping 1 1/4 inch screws, and you'll want it'll take about 20 of them. And so one box at Harbor Freight will actually make several birdhouses. I've got my impact with a Phillips screwdriver bit on it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, and you want the 4 1/2 inch side to be the up side, not the 5 1/2. Okay, so I'm going to take it. All I'm going to do is I'm going to start my screw about 1 inch from the edge so I don't split it out. And I'm just going to start my screws. As you can see, I started my screws in my board. Now I did that so that I don't have to, I can hold them You want these fairly close to the edge, probably within 1/4 inch, because your board's only 5/8 of an inch wide, so you want these pretty close to the edge of your board. So I've got them about 1/4 inch from the edge of my board. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to stand both of these up, and that'll sort of help me balance it. And I'm just going to line up the bottoms like this and line up the sides. Just easy, put one screw in. You don't want to drill it down hard because you don't want the head of your screw to split the side of your board out. Line this one up. Do the same. Then you got the other side. And you can buy these screws. They can be silver or bronze. I just grabbed the black package. This thing is going to age, and when it ages, you'll find out that the black ones tend to blend a little easier. Okay, so I've got, as you can see, 3 pieces together. Now, I just go over here, and you can do the same thing. Take 4 screws for your front, about 1/4 inch from the side, and start them. It doesn't take much to hold these birdhouses together, and the reason I like to use screws instead of nails is because if you use nails, you can't take them apart and clean them or replace a side or a front or whatever if you need to. So I've done the same exact thing. I line up the bottom, I line up the side, I've got my screw ready to go, and I screw those together, turn it around, make sure this one lines up the side and the bottom, hold it, alright. Now, for the bottom is really simple. You're going to do 4 screws for it. I like to do 1 screw in the middle of each side. Now, people clean these out in different ways. You can clean them out from the bottom or from the top. It doesn't really matter, but I put my 4 screws in, or my 3 screws in, and you want this to line up with the back, and that way your hole in the front has a little overhang porch, I would say, or a, like a little porch here. So we're going to hold these. Everything is 5 1/2 inches wide, the width of your board, so it makes it real simple. Alright, and then for a good measure, you take and you put one right here. You find your board, you put one right in the middle here. Now, your bottom's on. So you got your birdhouse. You got the bottom, you got the top, the sides, and the front and the back. So there's our birdhouse. Now, if you remember in our previous video, we made one of these 4 3/4 by 8 1/2. That one goes on, you put it on flat flush with the top point, flush with the back. And what that's going to do is it's going to overhang and give you a little bit of a shingling effect to where water doesn't hit the side of your house too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line it up with the back. Now some people put these on like this, and that way they've got a little shingling effect on both the front and the back. It's totally up to you. But I have found if you line these up and make it flush with the back, if you notice it's flush with the back, if you make it flush with the back, then it sits on the tree easier, because you can put a piece of wire on these and hang them on the tree. But if you hang it out here, then it won't sit exactly square on the tree. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the same exact thing. Now, on these, I am going to put a little mark. I'm going to line it up. I'm going to put a little mark where the center is for my board right here. That's where my screw goes. Take my screw, and I'm going to put it right there. And take my screw for the back, and I'm going to do the same thing here. Now, as you can see, those screws will drill right into the wood below. So I'm going to put this one on. I'm going to, again, like I said, I'm going to line up the back, make the back flush on this side, and flush on the top right here. Hold it. There's that one. And as you can see, that drilling tip screw will not split your boards. I'm going to take this one. I'm going to drill that one. Now, really and truly, that's all you need. If you want to, you can put another one here and another one here. I will put another one just here in the back, just for safekeeping. I don't necessarily need one out here in the front. Because it's just a roof. So now we've got part of our roof. Now, this is real easy to take these apart if you need to clean them out. So, now, your other part of your roof. It's real simple. You just line it up and you put it on top. If you can see here, it goes on top of this one, but along this line. And you can see we cut this one 4 3/4 and we left this one 5 1/2, and that gives us an overhang about the same on each side. So what we're going to do is we're going to put these here. Take my pencil, and I'm going to just mark me a little pencil mark right there. And I know this one's in the corner. I'm going to mark straight across from this right here screw, and that will be my roof. Okay? So, you just need 3 screws into this to do it. Put that one in. Put that one in. Here we go. We've got that one and that one. We're going to line up our back, line up our front. Now sometimes you may have a problem where this screw and this screw hit each other, and this one hit each other. And if they do, they'll usually work themselves around each other. There you go. You can tell they hit each other. There's the top. And for good measure, right down here on this corner, and there's your birdhouse. 7 pieces of wood cut from one 1x6 by 6 foot long cedar plank used for a cedar fence, and it makes with an 1.5 inch hole, makes for a perfect birdhouse, a bluebird house. All you have to do now Put you a couple of screws in here if you want, and hang it on the wall or hang it on a tree, or you can drill a hole in it and put a nail in the tree and hang it on that tree, but that'll blow off sometimes. So anyway, that is your bluebird house. I hope you enjoy watching them come visit your property. If you have the proper place for them to stay, they'll return year after year after year. These are inexpensive. You can build 5 or 6 of them, hang them around your property, and they sure do make a really good habitat for your bluebirds. I want to walk with you just real quick, and I want to show you our bluebird houses. Real quick, I'll just show you these. We've got 3 of them. They're different styles. The one I just made, to me, is the easiest one to make. And but all 3 of our bluebird houses, they are all occupied. They're producing babies every year, and we want more and more bluebirds around the property. So, give you an example. There went a bluebird right there. So, we have this bluebird house. My grandson made this one for me, and he made the roof out of an old car tag just for ambiance. He painted it blue and green, and we've got babies in there. And then this one is one another friend of mine made. You pull the lid, and you can get the nest out of this one as well. These right here are all made out of a cedar fence stave, and then we've got one over here. And all of these are occupied right now. So all of these just hang out in front of our dining room window. We've got our hummingbird feeders, and we enjoy the bluebirds out here by the campfire and by the swimming pool. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this little episode of Doing USA. I always want to say this. Don't just sit there and waste your day. Come on. Get out here. Get doing USA.